All right. Hi. This video is late, I know, but last night it was a little too late for me to record this because I had to wake up early today. I had a bowling thing in Sioux City. That was a lot of fun. Had fun with that. But back here, gonna record this for you guys. This is my conference championship review. Cal and USC is not on this board because it was a game that I would have put on the board if bowl eligibility was involved, but since both teams were 4-7, not on the board. Cal did win that game, I believe, like 24-14, something along those lines. But yeah, we're going to talk about every conference championship game today. And then in this same video, I don't want to make a separate video on this. I'm going to keep it all in the same video, just as one file, easy to upload, export. I'm going to be reacting to the playoff rankings that came out today and the New Year's Six bowl game matchups that we are going to see. You're going to see all of that in this video. So, hey, before we go ahead and get started, if you haven't already, if you could hit the like button, subscribe, do anything you can, help support the channel. If you want to see more content from me, it would definitely mean a lot. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get right on into it. As per usual, we're going to start on this side of the board. There were two games played on Friday. You see both of them right here. Notice I actually have stats on the board today instead of just on a little sheet off on my computer, that you guys actually get to see the stats today. I thought that was a nice thing. No, this is not how the reviews are going to be throughout, because then I need like 80 different boards because college football, there's a lot. So you get this for right now. Going ahead, jumping into things. We're going to start out with Western Kentucky and UTSA. And this one was pretty exciting throughout. I mean, UTSA took the lead pretty early in this one. What was it? They jumped out to a 35-13 lead, ended up getting it to 42-20, and that just didn't seem like there was really, or they ended up getting to 42-13, and there just really didn't seem like much of a shot for Western Kentucky. But they started to come back. They found themselves down again, that 42-13 deficit with 10 minutes, 16 seconds left to go in the third quarter. And they just said, all right, let's go. Let's do this. And they went on a huge rally. However, UTSA were able to get some points in those drives as well. But Western Kentucky just kept scoring. They kept on scoring. But UTSA stands strong. They punt the ball away, and Bailey Zappi just has to airmail it out at the final play of the game, and it ends up being picked off. That's the second interception Zappi threw in this game, but he had a record day, as you see on screen. 36 of 59 for 557 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. A very good day at the office for Bailey Zappi in a losing effort. On the other side for Frank Harris, he went 19 of 28 for 218 yards, 2 touchdowns, and no interceptions, along with 11 carries, 81 yards, and a rushing touchdown for him as well. But a couple standouts from this game. Jareth Stearns, very, very good player. I've talked about him a lot in my videos. 10 catches, 179 yards, 2 scores. That's a receiver. Also another receiver for Western Kentucky had a really good game. 9 catches for 173 yards and 2 scores for him. So some really good things happening on Western Kentucky's wide receiver core in this game. Again, UTSA just scored too many points. And by way of this guy, Sincere McCormick, you haven't heard the name, what are you doing? He's a fantastic running back, had 36 carries for 204 yards and 3 touchdowns in this game. He was absolutely fantastic from start to finish. A huge reason why UTSA won their first ever conference championship game. Again, they've only been in a football program for what, 10 years? 10 or 11 years. I'm pretty sure. It's one of the two. I know they started in 2011, I do believe, as an FCS school, ended up going to Conference USA the next season, and look at where they are now. Fantastic job done at UTSA this year, and they are your Conference USA champions. Great season by Western Kentucky. You will see them in a bowl game this year, though, for sure. And again, I'll preview bowl game matchups in like a huge preview later. I'll do something like this where I throw it up on the whiteboard and I'll preview, talk about, and predict. I'll have win-losses up there, everything. So we are going to be doing that later for sure. But Moving on, Pac-12 title game. And again, remember what I said. I thought that Georgia was going to, or not, I was looking at the Georgia magnet on screen. We're going to get to that game too. I thought that Oregon just was going to play better when it mattered most. And, well, clearly they did not. Clearly, Oregon does not know how to handle Utah's physicality. And Oregon, I believe, going to find themselves in the Alamo Bowl against Oklahoma after this. But let's go ahead and talk about. Well, let's just go ahead and talk about this one, shall we? So, Oregon just never could really get anything going from the get-go. It was, again, all Utah. They jumped out to a very early 23-0 lead at the end of the half. It was 23-0 at the end of one. And at halftime, I went, well, this game's done. So Utah's going to win the Pac-12. And there you go. Right? Like, Oregon cannot handle Utah's physicality. I don't know what it is, but Oregon arguably has the better players because they have Kayvon, they have Noah Sewell, Travis Dye on the other end. Yes, they're short at wide receiver position. Look at their leading receiver. It was Crocker with 3 catches and 51 yards. That was their leading receiver in this game. They can do nothing against this Utah team. Absolutely nothing. And it's 2 of Oregon's 3 losses this year. They're going to find themselves in the Alamo Bowl against a pretty solid Oklahoma team. But you have to be disappointed with the way that Oregon played against Utah this year. Utah, if it wasn't for those losses against BYU, San Diego State, they probably would have been a major contender in the college football playoff and seriously probably could have dethroned Cincinnati as the number 4 spot. And again, we will get there to the playoff field. There really were no big surprises. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on that. But looking at stats, the quarterback comparison, Anthony Brown went 13 of 24, 147 yards, no touchdowns, but did throw 2 picks. Cam Rising, he's been fantastic ever since he was able to start here at Utah after Charlie Brewer's transfer. He went 15 of 24 for 170 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. 9 carries, 61 yards. Not the greatest stat line, but you could definitely tell he's making an impact. But the guys who really made an impact on either of these teams were the running backs. And excuse me, that should be a 1. That should be a 1 right there, not a 2 for Travis Dye because, again, Oregon only scored 10 points. So 15 carries, 82 yards, and 1 rushing touchdown. Yeah, 1 rushing touchdown for Travis Dye. So sorry, ignore that. People are going to correct me on that now if they notice it. That should be a 1, not a 2. Also had 4 catches for 27 yards. And as I mentioned, Crocker, the leading receiver with 3 catches, 51 yards. But for Utah, again, Tavion Thomas, what a tear he's been on. 18 carries, 63 yards, and 2 touchdowns for him. Meanwhile, Britton Covey, he keeps doing Britton Covey things. 5 catches for 72 yards. And then Kincaid was a huge part in this game as well. Caught the only touchdown pass that Cam Rising threw. He had 4 catches for 61 yards and a touchdown as well. Was actually targeted more than Brant Keithy in this game, surprisingly enough, but it worked out. It worked out. And Utah, your Pac-12 champions, and with that win, they secured their spot in the Rose Bowl. But who are they facing? Again, we'll look at that here in a little bit. Or for now, let's move on. Kent State and Northern Illinois. So I had said that Northern Illinois is going to win this game. I predicted them to, but Kent State was the favorite. I started to regret my decision a little bit, and then I saw the first quarter of this game, and I went, nope, I'm fine. I'm absolutely fine. I did not think that Northern Illinois was going to lose this game at all. They just weren't going to lose this game. There was no way. They jumped out to a lead straight away. They jumped out to a lead and they just never looked back. It was 10-0 after 1. And surprisingly enough, they were actually able to shut down this Dustin Crum and the Golden Flashes offense pretty well here in this game, surprisingly enough. So great performance here by Northern Illinois, in my personal opinion. So looking at stats here, Dustin Crum, again, never really got it going here. in this game quite like he wanted to. Went 11 of 21 for 128 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, along with 15 carries for 68 yards. Their leading rusher in this game, Williams, with 8 carries and 93 yards. And their leading receiver in this game, Cephas, with 7 catches, 102 yards. For Northern Illinois, Rocky Lombardi, again, not a flashy stat line at all, but most of the game done on the ground. Ducker, where is he? Right here. 29 carries for 146 yards. And don't let the Brown fool you here on the board, because Ontario Brown, the other running back for Northern Illinois, who is not the Brown that is on this board, played really well as well. I believe he had 14 carries. Yeah, 14 carries for 75 yards. But the Brown that is on the board for Northern Illinois is CJ Brown. He had a 26-yard pick six in this game that just about sealed the deal here for Northern Illinois. They outscored Kent State in every quarter except the third quarter. Kent State made a little bit of a comeback, but again, it was not much. And as soon as that pick six got ran back by AJ Brown, I said, okay, I can focus my attention now to the game we're going to talk about later. Again, I was watching both of them, but I was really intrigued in both of them. The Big 12 championship, which is behind my head right now, we're going to talk about. That was a fantastic game. But this game right here, what a season it was for Northern Illinois. They walk away with a Mid-American championship. Let me slide on over here, and we'll talk about the 2 games that I have on this side. And the first of that being the Big 12 championship game. And honestly, I probably am going to say that this game right here was the best game that we saw on Saturday. I said it. Yeah, well, I don't think a lot of people are going to disagree with me. This was a phenomenal game. And it didn't really seem like it was going to be that way, because at halftime, Baylor was up 21-3. And you could kind of get the feeling that, or 21-6, mind you. And you could kind of get the feeling that Oklahoma State just wasn't ready to play this game. They were making mistakes, but they also had some injury problems. Jalen Warren did not play in this game because of an ankle injury. You see right there, and it definitely showed. They definitely had problems running the football. In fact, Spencer Sanders was their leading rusher in this game. I'll look at stats in a minute, but they started to make a comeback, right? They started to make a comeback. They started to feel alive. And in the play of the year, if I could show highlights, I would show highlights. But just, they say it's a game of inches, and well, literally that much. The ball was this far away from the goal line. So you might be thinking, Nate, I don't know what you're talking about. What happened? Or Nate, please remind me. Dominic Richardson. Was not Dominic Richardson. I believe it was Desmond Jackson. Yeah. Okay. So Desmond Jackson gets a little pitch play to the outside, or not a pitch play. Spencer Sanders rolls back, finds him in the flat for just a little wide receiver screen dump off, and he's running and he's chugging. Is he gonna get the end zone? There's a Baylor defender closing on him fast. He makes contact with him, stretches the ball out for the pylon, and oh no, it's just short. That moment is going to live in the heads of Baylor fans and Oklahoma State fans everywhere for at least the next 8 months. At least. Baylor might have another memory here with the Sugar Bowl. Oklahoma State still going to New Year's Six bowl game as well, you would think, right? Again, we'll look at those matchups a little bit later. But yeah, like just fantastic game to watch. Fantastic effort by Baylor. And they are your Big 12 champs. Let's look at stats now. How about this freshman quarterback here, Blake Shapen? Oh my goodness. If Blake Shapen doesn't get the start next year, I will be baffled. I will be honestly baffled, because Blake Shapen looked really good in this game. He went 23 of 28. In fact, I believe he completed his first 16 or 17 passes, which is crazy. Only 180 yards. That's not that flashy, but 3 touchdowns on the day as well. Have yourself a day, Blake Shapen. He should be the starter moving forward. He has excellent potential. He looked fantastic. Abram Smith was their leading rusher, 17 carries for 63 yards. And then Tyquan Thornton with 6 catches, 71 yards, and a touchdown as well for the Bears as they win their first Big 12 title. I do believe it is their first Big 12 title for Oklahoma State on the other end in a losing effort. Spencer Sanders went 31 of 48 through the, 31 of 46, excuse me, through a lot of passes, 257 yards, no touchdowns, and 4 interceptions. So just imagine if Spencer Sanders wouldn't have thrown those 4 picks, if Jaylen Warren was available to play, what could have happened for Oklahoma State? Now, I don't like to use what ifs at all, but again, it's going to be churning in the minds of fans, right? But regardless, this is a fantastic game played by Baylor. I think it's a fantastic game played by both sides, and Baylor happens to come out on top as your Big 12 champ. And the last game we're going to look at here in the first row is the Mountain West championship game, Utah State and San Diego State. And Utah State, from the opening minute, did not hesitate to pour it on San Diego State. But you know the funny thing, Utah State scored all of their 46 points in the last 3 quarters. Yeah, there were no points in the first quarter. And I thought, okay, so this is going to be a fairly decent game. But you could kind of get the sense that, okay, Utah State clearly looks like the better team here. When is San Diego State going to pick it up defensively? Are they going to be able to get anything going on offense in this game? And the answers were no and no. Because San Diego State got thoroughly run over in this game. It was not even close. Utah State played a phenomenal game. When you look at total yardage here, it was only 383 to 315 and only 2 turnovers for San Diego State. So you got to think what happened. Just Utah State, a lot of short fields, and they capitalized on every opportunity that they had. It was a fantastic game that was played by Utah State here in this game. Going through some stat lines, Logan Bonner, the transfer from Arkansas State, following his head coach, 29 of 42 for 318 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 1 pick. Really good QBR rating for him. He played fantastic. Tyler, the running back there for Utah State, 17 carries, 41 yards, and a touchdown. And it was not Devin Tompkins that was the leader in this game for Utah State. No, it was Bowling. Surprisingly enough, Brandon Bowling had 8 catches, 154 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Devin Tompkins had 9 catches for 46 yards. So got the most catches, but it was a Brandon Bowling that took all of the stat line, that took all of the headlines in this game. He was fantastic. On the other side for San Diego State, again, no offensive stats really being that worthy. Brookshire went 11 of 23 for 117 yards. They ended up bringing Maiden in, and he went 5 of 6, 50 yards and a touchdown. So, hey, there's some points on the board, but that was the only touchdown they got all game. And the touchdown was thrown to Matthews, again, their leading receiver in this game, 8 catches for 82 yards and a touchdown, but futile effort from San Diego State. They get absolutely pummeled by the Aggies. And now switching sides back over here as we move to the bottom of the screen, App State and Louisiana. This game was pretty interesting to watch as well. You never really felt like this game got out of control. And by that, I mean, Louisiana pretty much had the win, not from the get-go, but as soon as Louisiana got up here 14-0, you could kind of think, okay, Louisiana probably isn't going to lose this one, but App State, there's still a chance they can come back. It was 17-7 at the half. App State closed it to make it 17 to 10, but Louisiana scored with, let me check, 12 minutes left in the fourth quarter, make it a 14-point game, and App State just could not come back and win. There was a fumble late in the game on App State's final possession that did end up costing them this game. But all around, pretty okay game to watch. It wasn't the prettiest of football at times, but for Louisiana, you get a 12-win season. This was your final game under Billy Napier as head coach, and he will not be coaching the bowl game for Louisiana, but they are going to a bowl game, as is App State. Looking at stats here. In this one, Chase Bryce went 12 of 30, so not a good completion percentage for him. Only 119 yards and 1 touchdown for him. Did run the ball, though, 11 times for 53 yards, but Cameron Peoples, their leading rusher here in this game, had 8 carries for 61 yards and a touchdown. And then Hennigan, leading receiver for App State, 6 catches, 71 yards for 1 touchdown. On the other side, Levi Lewis, again, not a really great day, but a solid day. 15 of 30, 210 yards and 1 touchdown for him. And then when you look, Bailey was their leading rusher, 14 carries, 117 yards and a touchdown. And then Peter LeBlanc, their leading receiver here in this game, 4 catches, 67 yards. And if you're wondering, Jefferson caught the touchdown from Levi Lewis. So good game here played by Louisiana. Both these teams going to get into some excellent bowl games, but Louisiana is the team that is your Sun Belt champions. All right, the American Championship, Houston and Cincinnati. I thought this game was going to be pretty dang close throughout. And through the first 2 quarters, it absolutely felt like that. It was 13-14 at the half. It was 14-10 after 1. And I thought, okay, there are going to be a lot of points scored here in this one. So just hold on. But it didn't necessarily get there. Cincinnati did have 400 yards of total offense, but went 0 for 8 on 3rd down. And that's still the thing that perplexes me about this game for Cincinnati is you went 0 for 8 on 3rd down and you won by 15. Sure. Why not? We're doing everything this year. Why not? Make it happen. But yeah, this was a really good game played by Cincinnati. And as soon as Cincinnati got in front, I'll say 28-13. As soon as Cincinnati scored that second touchdown in the 3rd quarter, you could kind of feel like, okay, Cincinnati's probably got this. And then they punctuated that with a 3-play, 62-yard drive that took 1:18 as Jerome Ford had his second big run of the day, which was a 42-yard touchdown. And yeah, the game was over at that point. They didn't score another point, did Cincinnati. Houston did, but it was futile in their efforts. Looking at stats, 17 of 26, 250 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, along with 23 carries, 21 yards for Clayton Tune. McCaskill, who was their leading rusher, only 13 carries for 39 yards. Nathaniel Dell was amazing in this game, though. 9 catches for 152 yards and a touchdown. And then Herslow, 5 catches for 57 yards and a touchdown for him as well. When you look at Spencer Ritter, didn't throw the ball a whole lot in this game. 11 completions on 17 attempts for 190 yards, but 3 touchdowns, no picks. One of those touchdowns to Alec Pierce, who had 2 catches for 65 yards, and of course that touchdown. But Jerome Ford, great day for him. He had 18 carries, 187 yards, and 2 touchdowns on his day. And Cincinnati wins the American for the 2nd straight year. And they absolutely did make their statement to go into the college football playoff, which they did. And again, I'll talk about that matchup a little bit here. I'll talk about that matchup here in a little bit. Still got 3 more games to review, though. And speaking of which, let's look at the game that everybody was looking forward to, right? And it was this one right here. It was Georgia and Alabama. This was good. This was the big one, right? This is the game that everyone was waiting all year for. Bama, Georgia, people could not wait. Playoff elimination game, possibly both of them getting anyway. Who knows? Well, it's going to be both of them getting anyway now because Bama really took it to Georgia. And honestly, this was just as soon as Bama took control of this game, there was nothing that Georgia could do. They did try. They tried a comeback. They tried to come back, make this game close, maybe even give themselves a chance to win, but it just did not happen. Stats here in this one, Stetson Bennett, 29 of 48 for 340 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks. Bryce Young made a Heisman statement in this one. You can just hand him the Heisman trophy now. Bryce Young will be your Heisman winner in 2021. 26 completions on 44 attempts for 421 yards and 3 touchdowns. Leading rushers for each of these teams, you had Cook for Georgia, 11 carries for 38 yards. And for Bama, you had Brian Robinson, 16 carries for 55 yards. Bama was able to rush it for 115 yards against this Georgia team, with an average of 4.4 yards per rush, which is, I believe, the most that Georgia has allowed this year. The 41 points, of course, being the most that Georgia has allowed all year. No other team has even eclipsed 20 on them, and this Bama offense absolutely blew Georgia's defense out of the freaking water. But wide receiver-wise, Brock Bowers was good here in this game. 10 catches for 139 yards and a touchdown. George Pickens came back to play. Now, hold on a second. George Pickens came back to play in this game. That is huge come playoff time. Blaylock is still hurt, and I don't believe he's going to be playing in the playoff because, again, Georgia was already in it. Of course, Bama in and now with this win. But like George Pickens is playing. He had 2 catches for 41 yards, so he's going to slowly work his way back into this lineup for Georgia. But for Alabama on the receiving end, Jamison Williams, he continues to be a stud for Alabama this year, the transfer from Ohio State. 7 catches for 184 yards and 2 touchdowns, while John Mechie had 6 catches, 97 yards, and a touchdown before he just kind of slips, falls awkwardly. He tries to make a cutback, and oh no, I knew immediately as soon as I saw the replay on John Mechie's cutback, I knew, okay, yep, that's a torn ACL. And this possible torn ACL down here, I wrote this before things have already gotten confirmed. As of recording this, things have been confirmed that it's likely an ACL tear and that it's bad. Like it's seriously bad. So I wish nothing but the best for John Mechie. Hopefully he can get back into the picture sooner rather than later. But it's not going to be soon enough for the playoff. No way. He's going to miss a significant amount of time. Probably going to be pushing it into the spring. He might miss the spring game next year if he decides to come back. I believe the NFL can take him if they want. Again, I'm not positive on that, but I'm pretty sure he's back if he wants to come back, which probably does. Williams has gone to the draft, though. Oh, yeah, 100%. But Bama's going to retool, reload like they always do. So, Bama, you're SEC champions once again, and you're going to have 2 SEC teams in the playoff for the second time in the playoff era. Let's move on now. Let's move on over to this side, and probably not in terms of the team that won, but in terms of the result. This was probably the surprise of the week. Now, I am on record here at my college saying that I thought Iowa was going to get embarrassed in this game. And I kind of said it here on this platform as well. I did kind of come out and say, I don't necessarily think this one's going to be that close. I think Michigan is just playing their best football at the best time. And boy, did they ever in this one. I mean, look at that. But just look at that. What? Who thought that was going to happen? Raise your hand if you thought, no, put your hand down. You're lying. You did not think Michigan was going to win by 39. I thought Iowa was going to get embarrassed. I didn't think Iowa was going to win this game. But man, did Michigan really pour it on. And yet, I still think Michigan can play better, especially on the passing game. But we're going to talk about that. I mean, what else do you want me to say about this game? You want me to go through team? Okay, here, I'll do it. 461 yards of total offense for Michigan, only 279 for Iowa. Meanwhile, Michigan turned the ball over 2 times, but that did not matter. Iowa was not able to stop Michigan all game long. They could do whatever they wanted, especially on the ground game. And yes, we will get there, but let's talk stats first. Cade McNamara, of course, got the start in this one. Went 16 of 24, 169 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Also 3 carries for 40 yards and 1 touchdown as well for Cade McNamara. I was looking at Bryce Young's stat line. I apologize. Scratch that. Nope. Cade McNamara only had 2 carries for 6 yards in this game. I apologize. But looking at the actual running backs for Michigan, whose job it is to run the football, Blake Corum only had 5 carries, but 74 yards and 1 touchdown. Good day at the office for Blake Corum. He was actually their leading rusher, but Hassan Haskins got the job done in this game as well. He had 17 carries for 56 yards and 2 tutties, along with 3 catches for 22 yards as well. And Roman Wilson, he caught an absolute bomb from Donovan Edwards on a trick flea flicker play. Donovan Edwards puts it on the money fools Iowa. Iowa had no idea. And it's Donovan Edwards. His stat line looks pretty good. 1 for 1 for 75 yards and a touchdown pass. That's a QBR rating of a perfect 100 if you ask me, and if you ask ESPN and any stat analyst ever. But Roman Wilson was their leading receiver. 2 catches for 82 yards and a touchdown. Meanwhile, for Iowa on the other side, he had Spencer Petras. Again, not a great quarterback room that Iowa has here. I think Petras can be good. I think Padilla can be good. Probably nowhere to the level of some of the other guys like Stroud and some of the other good quarterbacks around the league. But they both can be solid options, but they just did not have it in this game. Petras went 9 of 22 for 137 yards. They brought in Alex Padilla. He went a little better completion percentage-wise, went 12 of 15, but only 38 yards, and also threw a pick with no touchdowns. Tyler Goodson, though, 18 carries for 50 yards, along with 6 catches for 28 yards. And Laporta, 6 catches for 62 yards, was their leading receiver. But Iowa didn't even get a touchdown on the board. This Michigan team is a real threat in the playoff, and we'll see who they're facing here in a little bit. I bet you guys can guess, though, and you've probably already seen as well. You should probably hear my thoughts. But before we get into that, let's look at the ACC championship game, the final game that we will be talking about here in this one. And again, this one, as soon as Pitt took control of this game, it was never in doubt. Wake Forest scored no points in the final. Wake Forest scored 0 points in the final. Wow. Just blows my mind. No points for Wake Forest in the final 47 minutes. None. They scored 21 points in 7 minutes and then 0 in 53 minutes. Honestly, what adjustments made by Pitt and Wake Forest started to play more sloppy when they had that 21-14 lead. You look at Sam Hartman's stat line, it looks okay. 21-46 for 200, and I believe that's 13 yards. I kind of had to squeeze. Yep, 21-46 for 213 yards, 2 touchdowns, but 4 interceptions. Where does that sound? Oh yeah, I remember. Spencer Sanders threw 4 picks. Sam Hartman, threw 4 picks here in this game. Also did have 11 carries, including sack yardage, averaged out to 0 yards, but did have a rushing score in this game. So there you go. Morin was a good. There were 3 receivers that were good for Wake Forest in this game. Morin had 4 catches for 83 yards and a touchdown. A.T. Perry had 5 catches for 54 yards and a touchdown, and Jaquari Roberson had 9 catches for 54 yards. So some good receiving performances by Wake, but in the second half, Pitt just took over. And I'll say even in the last 53 minutes, Pitt just took over. Took over. Or no, it wasn't 53 minutes. I'm doing my math wrong. It was the last 48 minutes. I don't know why I said 53, but small brain. No, the last 48 minutes, Wake did not score any points. So basically, as soon as the second quarter hit, it was the flip of the switch, and it was all Pitt Panthers from that moment on. Kenny Pickett, 20 of 33 for 253 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. I'm going to butcher this name. I apologize to Pitt Panther fans everywhere. Abani Konda, 9 carries for 55 yards and 2 touchdowns. Again, I probably said it wrong. Sorry, don't hate me. I apologize. But he was fantastic in this game as well. The running back just read his stat line. Jordan Addison had 8 catches for 126 yards. And then what about this kid here, huh? Wow, Eric Hollett, 2 picks, and also had a 19-yard pick 6 return. Great day from him on the defensive end. In fact, AJ Woods almost had a pick 6 of his own. He returned it 73 yards before getting stopped short. And Pitt rolls their way into an ACC title. So now, when you look at this here, you probably already had a good idea of who the playoff field going in was. Going in the Sunday was like you had a pretty good idea that it was, well, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Like you had a pretty good idea that it was these 4 teams that you see right here, right? And well, that's exactly what you got. So if you'll give me 1 sec, we can look at the matchups that we will see come New Year's Day time. All right, yeah. Hey, I'm up in my little box now. Ooh, white background. I don't have my background behind me. I just figured I'm at my green screen. Why not do it? So again, this I'm not going to spend as much time on this because you guys have already seen it. You guys have probably already talked about it with your buddies, your friends, your family, whatever may have you, your coworkers, whatever. This is my reveal and reaction for the college football playoffs, and here it is. Pretty predictable, right? After what transpired. Now, if Oklahoma State would have beat Baylor, that would have made the conversation for number 4 a little more interesting, but I think it was clear without the shadow of a doubt that Alabama, Michigan, Georgia, and Cincinnati in that order should have been the playoff field. So you're going to get Alabama versus Cincinnati, Michigan versus Georgia, 2 new teams in the college football playoff this year. And I think this is going to be very exciting because honestly, while I don't necessarily see it likely, I do think Cincinnati has a shot to knock off number 1 at Alabama. And again, I will preview those games once we get later into bowl season, as we get closer to New Year's Eve when both these games will take place. The only thing I will say that I was surprised about with these rankings on who got what bowl game. I was surprised that Bama was going to go play in the Cotton Bowl, but I figured makes sense. Bama usually opens up the season in Arlington or Hard Rock or somewhere like that. And then they gave Georgia the Orange Bowl, which probably gives Georgia a little bit of a home field advantage in that one. Bama obviously has the home field advantage at Dallas. Of course, they're way closer to that than Cincinnati is. That's the only kind of surprising thing. I thought that Bama would definitely be going to the Orange Bowl because usually it's not always 100% you're guaranteed, but the number 1 team usually has a say in where you would like to go play. And maybe Bama did want to go to the Cotton Bowl. Maybe someone with more insight on that can let me know down below. But yeah, pretty predictable here. No early predictions from me. Again, this is just off the top of my head without doing any sort of research. I like Michigan's chances against Georgia, but I think Georgia's going to be fueled to get to that national championship. And Bama versus Cincinnati, as much as I'd like to see it happen, I just don't think it does. So as of right now, I do have an SEC rematch in the national title. And that one should be a better affair than we got this Saturday. But our New Year's 6 bowl games that we will be seeing, the Peach Bowl here. Pitt will be playing Michigan State. This is your Peach Bowl. I spot a mistake. Mistake fixed. Michigan State was not 11-1, 10-2. I fixed it now. But here you go. The ACC champion, the Pittsburgh Panthers, will be taking on the Michigan State Spartans in the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl the day before New Year's Eve. I think this should be a pretty exciting game. Actually, early preview. You got Kenny Pickett on one side. You got Kenneth Walker on the other. Both defenses who have kind of had up and down seasons this year. So this should be a pretty nice offensive game. But the only thing that I will say is Michigan State has one of the worst passing defenses in the nation. And you saw that on display against Ohio State, who absolutely shredded them through the air. And Pitt has the guy we just talked about. Don't know if you've heard of him. His name is Kenny Pickett. Yeah, pretty good passer. And he's got a lot of weapons around him as well. So I give the early advantage here to the Pitt Panthers. But again, you'll get my actual prediction later down the line. But this one, pretty excited to watch. But you know me, I'm an Ohio State fan, and we're going to get there. But the Fiesta Bowl right here on New Year's Day, also going to be a pretty exciting game. You got Oklahoma State and Notre Dame. And I'm actually pretty excited to watch this one here. Oklahoma State, of course, just came up short in the Big 12 championship game, but they still find themselves in the New Year's 6 bowl spot. They're going to be playing the Notre Dame Fighting Irish in the Fiesta Bowl, which good spot here for both of these teams. And I think this is going to be interesting, especially now with Notre Dame, with Marcus Freeman as the head coach. Of course, Brian Kelly going on to LSU. I promise I'm going to make a coaching carousel video later, but I know if I make it now, there's going to be more stuff happens. There's actually stuff going on with Mario Cristobal, possibly going to Miami. It's crazy. There's a lot of stuff to still happen. A video will come out about that topic, I can assure you. But for both of these teams here, This is going to be a pretty exciting game to watch, I feel like, as well. Probably give the early advantage here to Oklahoma State because of that defense. That defense has played really well all year long, and it stepped up big time in the second half, and they lost that game by a matter of literally centimeters against Baylor. So we'll see what happens in this one. You'll get my actual preview prediction later on. But now comes my time. You know me, I'm an Ohio State fan. I'm going to get excited for this game, but at the same time, I'm also nervous. You got the Pac-12 champion, the Utah Utes, going to be playing the Ohio State Buckeyes in Pasadena. This is Utah's first ever Rose Bowl. This is Ohio State's 18th time going to the Rose Bowl. They've been here before. They know what to expect. But Ohio State, of course, missing out on the playoffs due to that loss to Michigan. Michigan finds themselves in their playoff spot now. Ohio State going to the Rose Bowl. Not a bad consolation prize at all. No, it's not. But this game is very interesting because you have the physicality of Utah, especially defensively, against an Ohio State offense that is known for throwing the football. So Utah probably going to be able to hold Travion Henderson to under 100 yards, more than likely. Again, we saw that eminent both times Utah played Oregon, but the physicality for Utah, I think, is going to be a key factor here in this game. We know CJ Stroud can sling it, but Utah has a lot of physical guys on defense. They're going to bring the pass rush to CJ. They're going to watch a lot of that tape of the Michigan game and figure out how to beat this Buckeye team. But this one should be a whole lot of fun to watch. I can't wait to watch this game. But I think the New Year's Six Bowl game I'm most excited for. As a college football fan, as an Ohio State fan, I'm absolutely excited to play Utah. I think it's going to be a good game. But this one right here, the Sugar Bowl, the Big 12 champs, the Baylor Bears, are going to get to go play the Lane Train, Lane Kiffin, and the Baylor Bears. Whew, what a game this is going to be. Honestly, like, this game here, I think is going to be absolutely fantastic. You have Baylor coming in, Big 12 champs. They're going to have all the swagger. They're going to put it on. But Ole Miss is an offense that can score a lot of points. Baylor hasn't really played an offense like that this year, maybe besides BYU. And BYU isn't even, again, an elite level offense like that of Ohio State or Ole Miss, like they are going to see here. Yeah, they had to play Oklahoma and Texas and all those offensive teams in the Big 12. They had to play Iowa State. They were able to upset them. But no offense is quite compared like this Ole Miss offense that they are going to face on New Year's Day. So very interesting matchup here. I think I'm going to give I'm going to give the early edge to Ohio State in that game in the Rose Bowl. Just talent-wise gaps. I think Ohio State's going to be a little upset after that Michigan loss. They're going to be able to come back, get it done. And for this game here, I give the early edge to Ole Miss because of how good and how potent that offense is. And I think Matt Corral, if he plays, which likely he does, he's a competitor. He's not going to be one of the guys that opts out. He is going to be a huge factor in this game against this Baylor defense that was also very tenacious against an Oklahoma State offense. They forced 4 picks, so we'll see what happens here in this one. But just a reminder, here is your playoff field. Bama at 1, Michigan at 2, Georgia at 3, Cincinnati at 4. Again, the Orange Bowl, Cotton Bowl, playoff semifinals. It's going to be a whole lot of fun with the national championship in Lucas Oil Stadium on January 10th. And here is the big board yet again. Ready for magic? Whoop, I know. I just made my face cam bigger. So guys, that is going to do it for this video. I greatly appreciate you watching, clicking on this video. I know these videos are long. This was kind of a 2-in-1 video as well. So for those of you that watched it, very thankful. The video is going to go up pretty late in the night. Sorry I didn't have a chance to record it earlier. I, again, was pretty busy. So if you guys like this video and you can't wait to see more college football content from me, please do leave a like. Also consider subscribing, ring the bell, anything you can to help support the channel. I will be uploading my final top 25 poll tomorrow, or at least before bowl season. I'll be releasing my before bowl season top 25 tomorrow. And then from there, I don't know, I'll figure out something. I'll figure out some video to do before bowl game predictions. But I will see all of you guys tomorrow with my final top 25 before we get into bowl game season. Still got the Army-Navy game too. Probably do a preview prediction on that and a review on that. Should be a lot of fun. See all you guys tomorrow. Goodbye.